Hello lovely people, today on the bench we have many tweeters, and in this video I'm gonna tell you which tweeters you should kinda push on the side and avoid them, which would be your best budget option, and which are kinda the best of the best. So if you haven't watched, this is a culmination of the Ultimate Tweeter Shootout where I have 9 separate videos, half an hour each. The last one I published a few days ago, which was an hour long, where I try to find kind of the best overall performing tweeter. And in this video, we're not going to have a look at the data at all. I'm just going to very quickly show you some tweeters that I think would be worth your attention. If you want to know more about specific tweeter, please watch the previous videos. You can download my Excel sheet. You're gonna find the link under the video where I have kind of specifications of all of these tweeters. First of all, I'm gonna show you which tweeters you should kind of avoid, and if you're into a skew, do not consider even buying them. It's gonna be these two options, which are piezo tweeters. They have specific market, they have specific purpose. SQ is not the purpose of a piezo tweeter. My recommendation is to avoid them. Second category of tweeters, not necessarily avoid them, but just to pay in mind, it's not the S18. Is the fact that they have these all pretty things on top of the grills. If you can, buy a tweeter that has a plain grill with nothing on it, because these things, most of the time they do influence and they do mess up the response in the very top end. Just be careful considering these types of tweeters that are kind of designed to look good. Another category of tweeters that I would kind of recommend to skip for SQ would be your bullet and horn tweeters. These tweeters have super high sensitivity. In my opinion, they are aimed towards bass heads that need extra output, that need to bleed the ears. But for SQ purposes, I would recommend to avoid these and get just a normal, typical dome tweeter. Another category of tweeters that I would avoid personally are the very small AMTs and planar magnetic tweeters. Yes, they do have a specific purpose. They can perform good, but they will need to cross extremely high 7, 8, 10, 12 kilohertz, where typical tweeter can play if you aim it on axis. So these will not work in your typical three-way because you're not going to play your mid-ranges that up high. For a typical three-way or especially two-way, I would consider something else. I have only one example of a not tweeter. This is a Tectonic BMR driver, which is a kind of a wideband driver. It's not really a tweeter. Tweeters indeed do perform much better than widebands and the very top end. I will make a separate video explaining the differences and showing you the differences in measurements. If you want the best top end there is, do not consider widebands, go for tweeters. Yes, it simplifies the system, you need less channels, it makes it easier, but for ultimate sound quality, look for tweeters instead of widebands. Another category of tweeters that I would suggest to avoid, not specifically these ones, but in general, old school tweeters. By old school, I mean something that is out of production for quite a long time, maybe 10-15 years, just because it's a risky game. Yes, some of them do perform exceptionally well, for example, like this little Alpine. However, some of them will have problems. Out of these, the second driver in this pair, this is a Genesis driver, performed much worse than this one. The second driver from this pair, Dean Audio Becker, was dead on arrival. So you are really risking in buying something that can potentially perform much worse than should, or not to work at all. Considering that you can buy relatively cheap tweeters these days, I personally think there's no need buying old school tweeters unless you know that they're in pristine condition and you really want them. When you're looking at the tweeter, a lot of times it might look counterintuitive when you think about the performance of the specific tweeter. For example, these two tweeters, sensitivity-wise, you would imagine that a bigger tweeter will be more sensitive and potentially play louder. However, the fact is that This little focal tweeter is almost 10 decibels more sensitive compared to this Oz audio. So size does not determine how sensitive a driver is. As well, the physical size of the tweeter does not really necessarily determine how low a tweeter can play. From looking at these, you would imagine that this is a big, chunky, massive tweeter and it will be able to play very, very low. And there's a tiny, thin little one and you'll have to cross it high. No, this can be crossed at 2.2K, so just over 2 kilohertz, while this will require almost double the crossover. It has to be crossed at 4 kilohertz. So size of the tweeter does not necessarily dictate the lowest crossover point. Don't think that you're buying a bigger tweeter, that means that you can cross it lower. Not all AMTs are created equal. And the performance is not necessarily correlates with the price. If you want to see how these AMTs and this and the Dayton, another AMT, performs specifically, please watch the previous videos and you will find out. But don't think that just because a driver is an AMT that it performs much better than any dome tweeter. So now all of that out of the way, let's talk about specific tweeters that I would highly recommend for you to consider buying and incorporating into your build, and what would be my personal choices from all of these. I didn't test all the tweeters on the market because there's thousands of them. I am making conclusions only based on this selection of tweeters. We're gonna start with a tweeter that surprised me the most of all of these. It's this one. This is an Audio Ace Club tweeter. The brand that I never heard of. Apparently it is an SPL brand. However, for the price, for an SPL brand tweeter, the performance, in my opinion, is extremely good. Do not disregard any drivers, not necessarily tweeters, but we're talking about mid-ranges, mid-basses, or subwoofers, just because it's made by a brand that is known for SPL stuff. Some stuff can be used for SQ and it should be used for SQ. Let's start from the budget gems. These drivers, I have two of them, they are not necessarily performing the best, but in my opinion, you are getting the best value for your money. And these are going to be two Dayton drivers. One of them is a Dayton ND25TA, and the second one is Dayton AN25F. These drivers are so cheap and they perform so good. This ND25 is super cheap. A pair of these drivers will cost $26. It's like $13 per tweeter. This is extreme budget, and what you're getting for that price is probably 80% of what any tweeter up to like $200 can do. The only issue with this tweeter is fairly poor impulse response. Everything else is very good. What I don't like about this tweeter is this massive flange. I think it could be made much smaller, but that's what you're getting for the price. This one, on the other hand, the AN25, the only problem that it has, a slight peak in the distortion at literally one frequency. The pair of these drivers is $37 according to my research. For that price, I think you are getting an exceptional tweeter, especially in this form factor, and you can remove it. You can make it even smaller than that. This tweeter literally does not do anything bad apart from the distortion. But if you're not going to push it above 100 decibels, I think this is the best budget gem of a tweeter that you can buy today. Honorable mentions that kind of runner-ups up to top 5, because I'm going to tell you the top 5 tweeters that I chose are going to be two that, in my opinion, offer a very good value and performance ratio. So these tweeters are going to be the US amps from the Timber series and SB Acoustics SB29. The SB Acoustics tweeter, it's a home tweeter, is being sold by singles. It's like £35 or probably like $40 for you American friends, so double that up, below $100 for a pair. This is a very small tweeter that offers very, very good performance. And again, I don't like the flange because it's quite big. I don't like the fact that it doesn't have a grill. However, it's not really protruding, so the driver is kind of safe. I really, really like the performance of this tweeter. US amps, it did surprise me as well. It is big, it is chunky, it is advertised as a premium tweeter, and really it does not disappoint. Now, yes, this is a part of a three-way set. However, you can buy it separately if you ask US amps very nicely. Not everybody is a fan of the design, especially with a grill with a palm. Some people say that it affects the actual response, which it doesn't. So again, if you like that kind of thing, go for it. If you like US amps, go for it. Now we're gonna go with the top 5. In 5th place, I do have 2 tweeters because I couldn't choose because they are similar in performance but different in appearance. Both of these tweeters are from VIFA. So one of them is VIFA BC25SC15 and the other one is VIFA by Timpani and E19 VTS. I put them in the 5th place mainly because of the availability. These drivers are quite old. In some places they are discontinued, in some places they are sold out, so it's very difficult to find. However, for the price, according to my data, this is about £20, so $25, so a pair, $50 for a pair, and this is a bit more expensive, maybe $60 for a pair. You are getting exceptional value for your money. Now, yes, this is a bit weird looking tweeter, especially with a square install with an exposed dome, so it's not really for everyone. However, this one is so tiny and it performs very, very good. So if you want something a little bit better than the Daytons that I mentioned before, and you can spend just a tiny bit more money, I would highly consider one of these drivers. Number 4 in my book goes to Stevens Audio SA1. This tweeter really does almost everything almost perfect. It has one of the lowest distortions from all of these tweeters. It has probably the best intermodulation distortion as well. So if you are concerned about your tweet is playing super clear, this is your option. And having this kind of design, it will play loud as well. It's not super sensitive, but is gonna handle a lot of power. The only kind of downside that directivity suffers because of the design, so off-axis response is not that great. However, when you consider the price, because at the moment I saw is being sold for $100 a pair. In my opinion, if your budget is $100, it's a no-brainer getting this driver, especially if you live in the US. It's a bit different in the UK. I would not recommend it buying it for people living outside of the US because of the import, shipping, and tax. However, in the US, this is probably the best value at the moment that you're gonna get. Number 3, unfortunately, I will have to give this to 2 drivers again because I couldn't choose which one of them is better. The drivers are Helix i5 and SB Acoustics SB29 RD and C. The SB29 is a driver that I am recommending for years to everyone to buy, and I'm running this in my personal system for 3 years. The performance of this driver in the intermodulation distortion is exceptional. It is better than the Stevens Audio. It can play low. You can cross it at 2.5K. It is super sensitive and it will play very, very loud. The only downside is its physical size because it is a big tweeter. It does not have any protection for the dome. Off-axis as a ring radiator is not that great. However, for the price, about £120, $150, $160, depending on where you buy it, this is an exceptional tweeter, and I will keep recommending buying it, especially if you want something a little bit louder than your typical tweeter. The second driver in the 3rd place is a Helix i5. In my opinion, this driver offers exceptional value for your money. We will have a 2nd place where a driver is going to perform better. However, this is still my 3rd place. Look how tiny it is. It's a baby driver. You can fit it literally anywhere. And for the size, the compactness of it, when you compare to this monster. It's like, wow, you can cross it super low, 2.2K. It has exceptional distortion, very nice impulse response, very nice frequency response, and the price as well. However, the price will depend where you are in the world. In the UK, it's £150. Like, to me, it's a bargain for the performance that you're getting. Yes, in the US, it might be different. That is why I gave you the options for Stevens Audio, because Stevens Audio, most likely in the US, will be 2 or 3 times as cheap. But look at the difference in size. It's like, it's not really comparable. So to me, this is going to be third place together with the SB29. Now the second place. Any guesses, anyone? It's going to be Museway MG6.2T. This is a little Museway tweeter from the MG line. You have MG mid-ranges, mid-basses, and you have these tweeters. This tweeter, for the price, is, I don't know, is bloody awesome. Yes, it is a little bit bigger than the Helix. However, the performance of this tweeter is a little bit better than the more expensive Helix. That is why this is taking the second place. This tweeter has exceptionally good impulse response and super low distortion, probably one of the lowest from all of these drivers. And the best of all, in the UK, it cost £100 a pair. So it is cheaper than the Helix, and it does offer slightly better performance. Now, yes, Helix comes with some add-ons. You can mount it in different places. You have a little pod to mount it. It's just a more install-friendly tweeter. However, this one, if we're taking into account performance and price, is number 2 for me. There's no question about it. And I really like this wire. And number 1! What is number 1 from all of these tweeters? Again, I have 2 options. Before I'm going to tell you about those tweeters, I will want to address the elephant in the room, because I know people will ask and people will be disappointed. If we take this, this, and this, these 4 tweeters are the most expensive from the range. We have this ScanSpeak, which is about £400 for a pair of tweeter. We have this Seas that is £600 for a pair of tweeters. We have this hybrid audio Lagacha, which is $600 for a pair. And we have the Mundorf PS Sound version, which is £800 for a tweeter. I will not consider these tweeters to be the best of the best, just because of the price. I am a little bit more price conscious, and from the data that I saw, from all the measurements that I did and everything I analyzed, I personally cannot justify spending so much money for a pair of tweeters. In my opinion, you should buy these tweeters in really 3 occasions. Number 1, if you have money burning your pocket and you don't know what to do with it, buy them. Number 2, if you want to show off against your friends or, I don't know, people that you don't know, these tweeters will attract attention. When you have super expensive gear in your system, people look at your install differently. So if you want to show off, go for it. And third, if you are competing. Now, I know I will get roasted because of what I want to say, but if you are competing and you have super expensive tweeters, such as these Mondorfs, anybody that's going to sit in your car will evaluate your car differently and will hear everything differently. Yes, I know what people say. I know what people comment, that some of these tweeters are the best of the best. They are outperforming everything else and you have to listen to them because they offer exceptional sound. However, looking at objective data, there is really nothing exceptional about this price point. Yes, in some cases, some of these tweeters are best from the whole bunch, but in a lot of cases, there are tweeters that in a specific area perform better than these. And None of these tweeters have the best of the best in all aspects that I was measuring. So unless you fall into those three mentioned categories, I would avoid spending your hard-earned money on uber expensive tweeters. In my opinion, it is not worth it. Now go to the comment section and roast me. So now, number one tweeter, in my opinion, from all of these. Seas 27 TFFNC/G or H139604. So it is a very tricky name, but this is prestige tweeter from the Seas line. This tweeter is known in the DIY community as one of the best for years. Many people swear by it. Performance-wise, it might not have the lowest distortion. However, this driver is beyond exceptionally good. Yes, it's not going to be the best of them all. However, a pair of these drivers cost about £65, less than $100. You will not get any better value for money. Yes, this, for example, VIFA might be kind of comparable in performance and it might be a little bit cheaper, but as a whole package, when you have an open dome, when you have this weird shape, this is an overall extremely good package. You have a thin tweeter with a grill, flush mounted, you have a hole to mount it, you can buy it literally anywhere, and I guarantee 99% of the people would be super happy for it and would not need anything else for years to come. So I'm happy to confirm what the DIY community was saying for years, because they were praising this tweeter for a long time. Now, another first place that I kind of wanted to give it, but then I changed my mind, is this one. It's a Dayton AMT 2-4. I didn't give it a first place just because of the physical size of the tweeter. It is massive. It's highly unpractical to mount it anywhere. You're not going to install it in A-pillar. You're not going to install it in sail panel. This tweeter will require a very custom installation and it needs a lot of space. However, for the price, according to my sources, a pair of these is $127. It is very sensitive. You can cross it at 2.5K. Yes, AMTs don't have to be crossed high. They can play low. Very nice frequency response, exceptionally good intermodulation, very nice impulse. And overall, again, I'm gonna be roasted for this, but to me, this Dayton AMT is much better value than this. Even if you buy the official Mundorf version for half the price of this one, this Dayton is still gonna destroy this in some cases. Not all, but in some cases, it's marginally better. So that's why I didn't give it a first place, just because of the size. If you can fit it, go for it. If you want something smaller, you have the Seas, you have the SB29, you have the Museway, and you have the Helix. Any drivers that you're gonna choose from these will offer you the absolute best bang for your buck. And now probably the main question, is there a best tweeter that does everything best? The answer is no. Everybody was expecting that this Mundorf is going to be the best of the best. No. If you have a look at the data, there are tweeters that have a better impulse response. There are tweeters that have lower distortion. There are tweeters that have better intermodulation distortion. There are tweeters that have better frequency response. There are tweeters that does some or a couple of things better than the most expensive one. There is not a single tweeter that does everything exceptionally good, because everything in car audio is a compromise. And that is why I said from the very beginning of the shootout, when you're choosing a tweeter, you have to choose it based on your needs, that would fit your install and that it would do what you want it to do. So there is no best overall tweeter. It doesn't exist on the whole planet Earth. Don't think that if you're spending over £1,000 of a tweeter, you're gonna get everything the best of the best. And to be honest, not everybody is looking for the best of the best. Most people, I think 90% of the people, are looking best value options and what will give you the best bang for the buck. So I think I summarized everything for you. I tried to make it short, but it didn't happen. If you have any experience with the tweeters that I mentioned already, please pop them in the comments below. I would like to hear, and I think my viewers would want to hear. And that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.